The LV County Championship's bottom county, Leicestershire, showed plenty of fight on the third day of their match in Cheltenham against hosts Gloucestershire. It had been another bad day for Leicestershire on the second day. They'd been bowled out for just 162 before Gloucestershire had responded with 40 for 2. Jonathan Batty and night watchman David Payne added a further 27 runs to reduce the deficit to just 95. Leicestershire desperately needed a wicket, and Wayne White helped out by beating Payne for pace to remove him for 15. That brought Alex Gibman to the crease. He raced to 12 but was then trapped right in front in White's next over. White was on fire and he added a third wicket by ending Batty's 129-minute vigil with another leg before decision. Batty was gone for 26. Leicestershire, and White in particular, were on a roll, having reduced Gloucestershire to 90 for 5 now, but they now had to dislodge the in-form Hamish Marshall. He's played some excellent knocks recently, including an unbeaten 70 on this very ground against Essex last week. He was soon pushing his side towards a lead. But there were still 34 runs adrift of Leicestershire, where Marshall lost his partner Ian Cobain, who was well held low down in the slips by Greg Smith off Robbie Joseph. That wicket fell 10 minutes before lunch, and 10 minutes after the interval, Marshall, having caressed 37 runs, edged a good one from Nathan Buck to Josh Cobb, with his side still 30 runs behind. It looked as if, in the end, the two first innings totals were going to match each other, especially as Leicestershire came so close to getting the 8th Gloucestershire wicket. 2 or 3 vociferous appeals were turned down, however. It may have been tough for Ed Young and James Fuller at the outset, but as they spent time at the crease together, things started to ease for them on a sporting pitch. The real surprise was Fuller, whose previous first-class best was only 24 in his handful of games, yet he played some cracking shots, especially through the offside. Young has a little more experience, and he also looked good once settled in, picking off his runs neatly with an array of fine-looking shots as Gloucestershire started to move ahead of their opponents. In 5 previous innings this summer in the LV County Championship, Fuller, a South African-born New Zealander, had scored only 35 runs. He now doubled his season's tally with some shots that a more experienced top-order batsman would have been proud of. You probably could have got very good odds on him recording his first ever 50 on this day, but that's just what he did, getting there with a classy cover drive, which brought him his 7th 4 off his 58th delivery. His partnership with Young then moved on to 95. So the lead stood at 65 when Michael Thornley finally had Young caught by Smith at slip for 37. Next ball, after waiting 22 overs to get in, Ian Saxelby gave Thornley a second wicket, only the 6th of his career, with a fine low catch off his own bowling. Fuller then threw the bat with 9 men down and top-edged Buck to Ramnaresh Sarwan to depart for 57, with his side all out for 229, and that gave them a 67-run advantage. So there was much work for Leicestershire's top order to do. They could ill afford a repeat of the previous day, in which they'd quickly fallen to 13 for 3, and that would have been in both Smith's and Thornley's minds as they came out to bat in a determined mood. Saxelby, with career best figures under his belt in the first innings, thought he'd made an early breakthrough for Gloucestershire, but the umpire didn't agree. Gloucestershire also thought that they'd run out Smith, but the umpire was spot on with his view that the batsman had just made his ground. Gloucestershire were getting closer, but just couldn't get the wicket they wanted. An uppercut from Smith was now put down at third man, in front of one of the famous beverage tents at the Cheltenham Festival. Between these moments of nervousness for the batsmen, there were some super shots, as Thornley and Smith gave their side one of their better starts to an innings this season. Indeed, they all but wiped out the first innings deficit to put themselves just on top, knowing that Gloucestershire will have to bat last. Thornley was helped in reaching 39 by Young, who dropped in a half-tracker, which was smashed for 6. That meant that Leicestershire were just 1 run behind when Thornley was given out LBW to Payne to end an opening stand of 66. Smith then took his side into the lead and then tried to build on that. But he was out at 85 for 2 when on 36 he edged Liam Norwell to Cobain in the slips. So now Gloucestershire were back on top, particularly when Ned Eckersley was bowled by a beauty from Young after the addition of only 4 more runs. Young, however, didn't always get it just right, and that allowed Sarwan some free hits to advance the total along into 3 figures and the lead to above 50. He was helped in that by Cobb, who struck the previous day's bowling hero Saxby for a couple of boundaries in the same over. Leicestershire really now needed to finish this day strongly from here. Instead, just after the schedule closed at 6, Cobb feathered Fuller behind on 15, and the decision to use a night watchman backfired as Joseph gave Dan Housego a simple catch at short leg off Young. That left Leicestershire on 142 for 5 at the end of the penultimate day, and that means that Sarwan and the rest are going to have to bat well to set Gloucestershire a challenging target. Their current lead stands at only 75, with Sarwan still there on 30.